Harlem is sort of the cultural hub of Black America in the United States. We talk about the year of return in 2019, which marked the 400-year anniversary from 1619 to 2019. But it's also something called the Great Migration in Black America, which took place from 1916 to 1970, where Black Americans left slave states and then they dispersed throughout the United States. They went to New York City, where my family went to, Los Angeles, California, Chicago, Illinois, Detroit, Michigan, Cincinnati, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio. And Harlem turned into the cultural hub. That's where the dancers went, the speakers, the artists. So when you hear about Langston Hughes, when you hear about Malcolm X, when you hear about all these wonderful artists, especially when you talk about the 60s and 70s, they all moved to Harlem to, you know, have their ministries, have their arts and things of that nature. So that's where I'm from.
And then when growing up in Harlem, what did you get to know about Africa or Ghana? Did you hear anything about Ghana, Africa?
Yeah, my father, he was raised Christian, but when he moved to Harlem in 1965, he became more of a traditionalist, somebody involved in Black empowerment. So even from the young age of 5 years old, my father taught me about African spirituality. He taught me about the great kings and queens of Africa, whether it was West Africa and King Hannibal. He taught me a lot about Ptah and ancient Kemet, which is modern day Egypt. And he always taught me that Black is beautiful. Don't believe what you see about Africa on television. Africa is a wonderful place, and I want you to know one day. I know how young I was because my family is from New York City housing project. That would be considered the village here. We moved into a new apartment when I was 6 years old, and my favorite sports team won the championship that year. And I remember celebrating in our new apartment, but I remember my lessons starting in our old apartment. So that's how I knew I was as young as 5. He used to play Bob Marley, a lot of Afrocentric music. He used to teach me ancestral worship. My mother used to get mad when we made food, and he used to make a separate plate for the ancestors.
Like libation.
Libation. He taught me how to pour libations as young as 5. So that's why I always kind of have like a self-pride when it comes to the repatriation of Black Americans back here to the continent. I was raised that way. I'm not a tour operator who's saying, oh, it's money in this now. Or even Black American tour operators, you look at their websites, they doing Paris, they doing Australia, Greenland. Now it's, oh, let's go to Ghana to help you find your roots. No, I was raised that way, and I always had a passion for Africa as a whole, as a continent. And Ghana and my passion for the transatlantic slave trade, you know, knowing my roots from here, that's what even made it stronger.
Growing up, did you meet any Ghanaians by any chance before you got to Ghana?
I don't know. You know, growing up, African was just African. You know, I'm not really too sure if we were separating people by countries yet. I don't know if I really had the concept. I knew West Africa because, like I said, King Hannibal conquered straight through Europe. I knew about Ptah in ancient Egypt, but I don't know if I was ever really taught this is Ghanaian, this is Nigerian, this is Kenyan, this is Zimbabwe. You know. So I don't think so. I knew Africans.
Yes.
But I didn't, like, now I know, okay, this person's Egypt, this person's from Guinea, this person's from Burkina Faso, you know, but as a child growing up, I didn't get that differentiation.
How did you get from Harlem to Ytre?
You mentioned it briefly.
Yes.
My first trip to, let's say Africa, was supposed to be Cameroon in 2015.
Why were you going there?
For a cross-culture course. Like my company's called Africa Cross Culture.
Yeah.
So for the school, for one of our final programs, we were supposed to choose an African country, visit the African country, and do like a cultural exchange program.
Okay.
And the original country of choice was Cameroon. However, the 2014 Ebola outbreak happened, and they wanted to cancel trips to all of Africa. So now, I know it's common. Oh, Africa is 54 countries. It's not one big. Africa is not a continent. It's 54 countries with, you know, different. However, in 2014, people wasn't saying that, and I was able to lead a coalition of students saying, Well, you want to cancel trips to all of Africa. They want to send us to El Salvador. They want to send us to, in the States, in Montana. The closest was Jamaica. South Korea, they wanted to send us. And I said, no, Africa is 54 countries with different cultures, tradition, and history. Then I targeted Ghana. I said, right of Adobe. Ghana's always been known as Africa for beginners. And at the time, Ghana had no cases of Ebola. So we got, after signing 1 million waivers, we actually got them to allow us to visit Ghana.
Okay.
So that was my first trip to Ghana. February 27th has actually marked my 3-year anniversary of living in Ghana full time.
Okay.
In 2020, I was hosting a group trip for 6 March Ghana Independence Day. And that's when the coronavirus broke out throughout the world. And when our president at the time, Donald Trump, said either come home immediately or risk staying abroad indefinitely, I said, oh, I made a lot of good people throughout my travels here in Ghana. I think I can stay. I lived in Aburi Gardens for about 3 months, and then a friend of mine invited me out to Elmina, which happened to be Itre, and then the rest is history in the making. Yeah.
Just take us back to the first day you landed in Ghana. What was that like?
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. What stands out to me the most was being on a plane, and as we were landing, seeing the actual soil on the ground. I was like, wow, I actually really did it. This is Africa right here. And back when I first arrived, Terminal 3 wasn't built yet. So I made a little joke to myself, like my first step was actually on concrete from the runway going from the plane over to the coaster, over to the coaster to get to the main terminal. And the first thing that I noticed was something I've coined as all black everything. Being from Harlem, being from New York City, being from the United States, there's so many different races and ethnicity in the Black American dollar. So when you go outside, you see Chinese stores, you see Indian stores, you see European-owned stores. You see a lot of Latinos working and having their own businesses. As Black Americans, we tend to only have barbershops or athletes, entertainers. But coming to Ghana for the first time, that's when I started to see all black politicians, black doctors, black entertainers, black newscasters, radio hosts. The names at the end of the closing credits all had African names. I remember I used to stay in Aquapone during that time, and coming from the Aquapone Mountains back down, it's not there no more, but it was this huge billboard of a chief. And it was my first time seeing these things. And it was just like, wow, this is like what to me, what black excellence is about, because everywhere I go, I see all these different other races and ethnicities in my pocket. But here I see African entrepreneurs that look like me. And that's what kind of even took my mental to another level, because here is just like you can really do anything. A lot of people are able to come to Ghana and go far.
So it's possibilities.
It's possibilities that where systematic oppression and racism in the United States kind of ended those things.
For your friends living back in the States,
Yeah.
were they curious about your experience here? I mean, were they scared? What were some of the things that they said that surprised you, or the fears they had for you?
Very encouraging. One of the things that helped me become a little bit more notable was journalists and people who did their research about me started seeing that I was promoting business in Africa since 2014. And again, I say Africa because I preach the whole continent. The younger people are starting to get more into it. Black Americans, we still going to Dubai, we still going to Cancun. There's a viral story in the United States right now where four Black Americans got kidnapped in Mexico, 2 died, and the cartel wind up turning over the kidnappers. It's like a big story. We still want to go to DR, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Cancun. So sometimes it's still a struggle to get Black Americans to come to Africa because of stereotypes, especially when you start dealing with the older population, our elders. They still say things that, unfortunately, no disrespect to anybody, they ask me serious questions. Are they going to eat? Are they going to eat me? Am I going to get kidnapped? I still get questions like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes because it's the church. The church takes people to the poorest parts of any country to do missionary work, and then people bring those stories back as if this is what it is. It's beautiful, and it's like, well, the living may be different, but it's a different type of wealth. It's a wealth of freedom and being free and not having that pressure to be black in America, to be a black man in America, a black woman in America. Here, I'm just a man. Women are just women. And then from there, they're allowed to let their wildest dreams come true because of some leverages that you have for being American.
What do you like most about living and working in Ghana?
I like, again, just waking up every day. I'm a man. I don't have to worry about systematic oppression or racism. I don't have to worry about profiling. You know, sometimes we hear things so much.
Explain that for somebody who doesn't know. What is profiling?
There's several different challenges that blacks in America face. It's the prison industrial complex where the government and towns actually get wealthy over putting us in jail. There are things called redlining where we can't get proper loans to get proper housing. Things such as education reform that we need. Black Americans are always put in the poorest schools. Our schools don't have the proper resources. There are things like environmental reform. We're always living, you know, like here, let's say everybody live near sewage drains or power lines, and then we have higher rates of asthma and cancer. So the profiling comes when people see that you're black and they think that you're going to steal. They see that you're black and you have nice things. You must be a drug dealer. Let's go inquire about this person.
And you had that happen to you a lot?
Oh, I've had that.
You go into a store and then what do they do?
They watch you. They follow you. The police are the worst. The police are the worst. You know, I remember one day I was arrested because I had a new job. I got my first paycheck. And I was just walking around feeling good. I was on my way to a party.
Yeah.
It really started my advocacy. I was on my way to a party. I had some nice, I took my shades out of my bag. I had my shades on that night. I had some nice, here I wear beads. In America, I wear juries.
Yeah.
I was about maybe a 2-minute walk. Some undercover police officers pop out. Who are you? Where are you going? Give me your ID. I don't have to give them my ID. Mm-hmm. And then finally I said, Rashad, just give them your ID.
Yeah.
So they can leave you alone.
Exactly.
I pulled out my ID. They said, too late. They grabbed my arm. They twisted me around. They threw me on the floor.
For what?
Lies. So basically, after you go through the system, I saw resisting arrest. I saw fleeing from a street fight. What they do is they trump up charges in order for you to just say, leave me alone. So finally, a few hours later, they give you a free lawyer. And the lawyer said, "Oh, this isn't true." Because when they went through my ID, they saw that I was a graduate student at the time. They saw that I had my new check pay stub. They saw my work ID, and that they just profiled me. So they said, "Oh, we'll let you go this time. Don't let it happen again." But when they read the charges, you would have thought that I was like criminal. That's what they do to Black Americans. And one of the contingents was, you can't bring this back up later because they hurt my shoulder. They hurt my shoulder. And these are things that we deal with in America. So that's why when 2014 came around, you heard a lot about the original I Can't Breathe, Eric Garner. Mm-hmm. Now, since Year of Return happened in social media and the internet, news spread faster. That's why you heard about George Floyd.
Exactly.
The original George Floyd name was Eric Garner back in 2014. Mm-hmm. Mike Brown, Tamir Rice, things of those natures. And even more recent news, in the story I'm telling you about, it was a black cop who did that to me.
Yes. Oh.
We have these stereotypes that only white cops are. Hey, let me calm down.
So the black police officer did this to you.
Yeah. And I'm on record. I'm on ABC World News. Mm-hmm. I'm on record discussing I don't trust black cops in America either. Yeah. I have several police friends here in Ghana. I know people have their their angst with little 2 CDs here, 2 CDs there. But it's different when I'd rather pay 2 CDs, which I haven't had to do, than actually knowing that my life is really in danger. It's not sensationalism. It's not hyperbole. It's not, they say it's this bad, but it's not that bad. No, it really is this bad. We have names like Amadou Diallo.
Yes.
Names that are not Black American names like Rashad McCrorey, who suffer from the same thing. So what I like to tell people, actually didn't send this. I have a new book.
Okay.
It's called Repatriation, Tips and Strategies for Families and Individuals Moving to the African Continent. Available now on Amazon.
One time.
But what I stress to Ghanaians in this case, since so many Black Americans are moving and, you're dealing with issues that we may call gentrification, raising the prices and things of that nature, is that Black Americans, we are coming from a place that's United States is almost psychotic. Can I share another story?
Yes.
This story comes back from 20. The moment I realized that as Black Americans, something is wrong with us. And if I offend anybody, it's not intentional. I'm just trying to teach. I was sitting with a lot of Black Americans at a table at kind of like a lounge / restaurant. And we saw some Ghanaians off on the side arguing and arguing. And we're sitting there like, oh, these Ghanaians, they talk. They argue, but nobody ever fight. And me and my Black American friends, we all talk about, yeah, I would have punched them and I would have hit them and all this would have happened. And we probably would have had to leave after saying some of the nasty things we heard. And then I sat back and I said to the group, I said, wow, that's really sick of us. We talking about how violent we would be, how much we would start fighting, and some people would come shooting, and you would hear all these stories. These people are just having arguments, and then 10 minutes later, they're friends.
Yeah, there's no blood.
Yeah, we would have wars for generations almost, or decades. And that's when I kind of started to change my mind. It wasn't an instant change. A lot of Black Americans, I write this in my book, a lot of Black Americans think as soon as we hit the continent, we're going to change. But sometimes it takes experience, reconciliation, seeing people fight and say mean. Y'all Ghanaians, y'all say mean things to each other when y'all fight. Things that wouldn't fly in the United States. Those are fighting words. Yeah. But it's like to see these things and to see that it doesn't have to end with violence. And then you start seeing a new way, and then you start seeing it more and more and more. It actually gradually helped me become a better man. It helped me calm my temper. It helped me put my defenses down. And these changes don't take automatically. So whereas I preach to Americans, start trying to change before you come to the continent. Start working on yourself before you come to the continent. I know it's not easy, but sometimes I ask certain Ghanaians to, exercise a level of patience when it comes to Black America. Yes. Because we're coming from a European country, that marginalized us, that got our minds, a lot of Ghanaians now start joking, bang, 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 bang. Like it's really like that out there. That's real. It's real out there like that, yeah. And it's not healthy.
It's not healthy. Yeah. Having a healthy conversation here with Rashad McCrorey. He's an entrepreneur. He's a chief also. We'll be talking to you about a little bit about his experience of being made a chief as far as tourism issues are concerned. But let's talk a little bit about your company. So this is Africa Cross Culture. What do you do? Briefly.
In terms of Africa Cross Culture, we organize trips to the African countries of Egypt, Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, Rwanda, Uganda. Okay. I started in 2000. I came up with the idea in 2015. I used to be a successful New York City party promoter. And on my second trip to Ghana in 2015, I said to myself, if you can get 30 to 50 people a week to party in New York City, you can get 30 to 50 people a year to come to Mother Africa. So I started working on a business in 2015. I started organizing trips in 2016. I actually did my first trips to Ghana and Egypt in 2017. Okay. Now I'm transitioning more to influencer. I'm an author. I have investments because I've been to some of these tourist sites dozens of times. It's just, and then when you start talking about liabilities, especially when you're dealing with Americans, you start talking about liabilities. I'm kind of shying away from actually organizing the tours myself. But when it comes to tourism, people think tourism is just taking people around. Like,
what is it?
Tourism is strategic thinking, it's planning, it's budgeting. It may be something as simple as getting signboards put up to promote Elmina. Exactly. Having a signboard in Accra saying such and such kilometers to Elmina. Next one is at Winneba. One coming from Takoradi. Making sure it's an online presence. I know as soon as I became Insarash Rahim, chief of tourism, visiting Seeking, each started coming up on
the searches.
On the searches, okay. Then sometimes it's about security. It's about protection, not protecting my guests from the countries, but protecting my village, my town, or the Edina from foreigners, people coming in to exploit people, take advantage of people in multiple ways, swindle people. We have this stereotype that when you go on tours, you need to be protected. Sometimes we need to protect people from
who are being visited.
Things of that nature. And I'm just happy that I'm continuing to evolve in life.
Awesome.
Evolve in life and evolve in my craft, that I don't let things get stale.
Always improving.
Always improving.
What can Ghana tourism learn from Egypt, from Kenya, from Rwanda, from the other countries that you've been to? Let's say Egypt. What can we learn from Egypt?
Well, Egypt, and like you mentioned earlier, Kenya, these places have been doing tourism for close to a century and probably even longer. When you start talking about the seven wonders of the world, the Great Giza pyramids, the Sphinx, Alexandria, Aswan, Luxor. When you start talking about Kenya, you start talking about the Serengeti. And just understand, even as far as Americans, just understand that Ghana, as far as tourism, not visiting Ghana, but just as far as tourism, it's a baby. It's an infant. Technically, people are going to look at 2019 as the year tourism started in Ghana. Yes, there's people who's been visiting for years. I've been visiting since 2015. I've been bringing people since 2017. But Ghana is young in tourism, and I think that we as a collective unit need to continue to build everything from a small Airbnb, a 3-star hotel, all the way up to the 5-star hotels. I think Ghana needs, I would suggest, let me put it that way, that Ghana should continue to take advice on how to run hotels and things like that. I know a lot of Kenyans run a lot of the top hotels here in Ghana, and also do the proper training so Ghana could be self-sufficient. And Ghanaians can run Ghanaian hotels just to kind of keep the money inward.
Indeed.
Yeah.
What can we teach Rwanda and Uganda and Egypt and
just continue to be welcoming and warm and have a sense of authenticity. I want Ghana to keep that authenticity in terms of when you have your return and have people repatriate. And like I said before, back in 2014, when we were preparing for our trip, I was able to cite right of Adobe. There was no year return beyond a return. I had to cite right of Adobe. As far as Ghana being warming, Kenya is not necessarily a place, or even Egypt is not necessarily a place that says, "Hey, we want you, Black American diaspora." And I know that there's other organizations that's doing a great job at making Ghana a place for all diasporas and all people. They say it's not really for just Black Americans alone. Yep. It kind of is. That's what the year return stands for.
Exactly so.
But that they can teach what. I actually had this conversation on Kenyan radio, that what they can learn from Ghana is how to actually welcome and care about the Black American diaspora. Because we're coming from, not literally, we're coming from a war zone, a psychological war zone. Like, if anybody cares to do more research, do research on what redlining is. Do research on the prison industrial complex. Do education reform, environmental reform, all these different things that I spoke of earlier. And you actually really see, like, this gun drill, they're trying to bring drill music to Ghana, respectfully to anybody. I'm not trying to kill anybody's dream. Leave that drill stuff in the United States. Ghana is known as the second safest country in all of Africa. It's not going to stay that way with drill culture. And please forgive me, don't drill me. Don't drill me, Ghana, because I know some bad people in Ghana, and I respect everybody. But that's a mental illness that's going on in America. In America, you're not allowed to say any racial slurs, any sexual slurs against anybody, but you can say the N-word in America on music, freely. That's part of the mental attack. Nowhere in the world they're glorifying violence the way that Black American culture glorifies violence. We don't own our music. The Jewish, Europeans own our music, and they allow that kind of stuff to go because it's a mental warfare. Not all warfare is genocide. So I would just say that what other places can learn from Ghana is to care about the Black American, be patient with the Black American, because with the Black American economic power, which my king and Edina talks a lot about, Nana Kama talks a lot about, and even I hear about Nana Akufo-Addo talk a lot about, just bringing in Ghana Tourism Authority, just bringing in investors, bringing in money, because Black Americans have money. And as they continue to learn that they can really make good profits here in Ghana, done correctly, because a lot of Americans are coming here and going broke.
So keyword, do it correctly.
Do it correctly.
Okay.
It's options.
We've got about 5 minutes to go, and I just want you to talk us through your installment as a chief, because I've seen some very interesting videos. When did this happen? How did it happen? What surprised you about the ceremony? Let's talk us through that.
What surprised me most about the ceremonies is it showed how much my family has cared for me. As I continue to talk to more people and as I continue to learn more, they put me through, like I see on the television right now.
Yes.
My name is Nana Kofi Kokojufo Emezikan the First. that's actually the installment of my stool because I'm the first. So we had to actually bring in my stool, has to have his own proper ceremonies.
Yes, indeed.
And what I was surprised to really learn is that they made sure that my chieftaincy is a legit chieftaincy. It's not a ceremonial position. It was going through. I've gone through the proper rites. I'm still waiting for my official Gazette papers to come back.
Okay.
But I've gone through the proper rites, the proper rituals. They did the right consultations. As I was explaining to you off camera, that I'm part of the Traditional Council of Edina.
So you sit in the meetings?
Yeah. And so I sit in on the meetings. I'm ceremonially installed as over the entire Anamata traditional Edna area. And it's been a blessing how great care they took to make sure. They say, no, Rashad, you joined our family, you contribute to the family, you come moved in the community, you're helping build the community. We want to honor you the right way. We're respectfully to anybody. We're not going to just give you a ceremonial stool. You're not paying people under the table. You may pay for the extra pressing and the pictures. You see all the pictures and presses and things, but we're going to take care of you the right way. Some of the things that's surprising is how many meetings, and we talked about that. It's just
we meet a lot in Ghana.
It's a lot for me. It's a lot for me. Sometimes I wake up in America, I'm used to waking up in the morning. Hey, I feel like doing this today. Let me put this in motion. Here it's okay. We have to have a meeting. All the right people have to be in place for the meeting. Then we have a meeting about the meeting. Then we have the next meeting about the last meeting. And then we're, so sometimes I'm trying to learn to be more patient because sometimes you be inspired and you got to go with the wave. That's a tip for entrepreneurs. When you get that inspiration, that burning passion, go with the wave. So sometimes that's America. That's Harlem slang.
No, I know.
Ride, bigger bourgeois. Ride the wave.
Yes, ride the wave.
So when I go through meetings, sometimes it takes the fire out of me, but it's like, no, you need it to be long burning. It shouldn't just be a spark plug.
Yeah.
It needs to be long.
So you're learning things. They're also learning stuff from you, I'm sure.
Yeah. They're learning that we can't just be having meeting after meeting.
So I'm just curious. Normally when they install a chief, they give him like a stool wife. Did they give you a stool wife?
Not yet.
Looking forward to getting one.
It's talked. It's talk about it. But certain things like that is trivial. Like I don't care about that. Not right now. Not right now.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself? With
is it trivial? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Forgive me. Yeah. I don't put anything under. Yeah.
No, at all. We've just got about 2 minutes left. Where do you see your life here going with your traditional position as Nana Kofi Kukudufu the first, and then your other Africa culture? Where do you see this going?
It's already intertwined. Even again, my village said, we're not going to give you just this stool or that stool. We want to give you a stool that's naturally intertwined in your life. So I'm chief of tourism. My life is based on travel.
Yes.
So even, that's one of the passions that I have is that everything always stays intertwined just so I can get paid. I can be successful just being me.
Being you.
Just being me. So I continue to look for opportunities. I'm big on taking advantage of opportunities.
Okay.
I'm big on always staying up to date with the newest trends, so I can be one of the first. Because I feel like I'm a trailblazer. Sometimes I feel like I live in the future. Which is great. You do too.
Yes,
you do too. I watch you.
Let's live forward. It's better to live forward than live backwards.
Yes.
How do people reach you, man, Rashad?
You can find me on my website, AfricaCrossCulture.com. Africa Cross like the cross.
Yes.
History tradition. AfricaCrossCulture.com, and you'll find all my social media handles: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I'm verified on all of them: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. So you'll see the blue check. You know that's me, Rashad _McCrorey.
One love.
Yeah. Madase.
Yes. That's it.